Make no mistake, being an entrepreneur is tough. You're trying to build a business, manage a team, deliver your product or service, and of course, make more money, all while trying to eat healthy and get to the gym, raise your kids, and maybe even make it to date night more than twice a year. So, when hustling harder doesn't work for you, how do you find the time, energy, and skills to build the business you want while being the parent and partner your family deserves? My name is Nick Murphy, and this is the Parentpreneur Podcast.
Hey there, guys, and welcome back. I've got an amazing guest for you today. Dorris is his name. Chris started his career as a social worker working on the streets of Atlantic City, helping the mentally ill, drug addicted, and homeless populations upgrade their lives. And over the course of those years, he observed that most of these folks, as a consequence of their belief and their persistence, were actually able to overcome some pretty significant stuff. And that experience, in retrospect, is what led Chris to his current vocation. Dorris, how are you, my friend?
Best day of my life, brother.
Every day.
It was already perfect. Then I get to hang out with you, so it's perfecter.
That's amazing. Chris and I, we've known each other for, all right, full disclosure. Chris was my sports psychologist that I met at ASU when I was 19, 20, I don't know, whenever I was there. And we'll talk all through his story, but he's had a significant impact on my life, especially in the mental space, not just in athletics, but also in business. So I'm honored to have you here. I appreciate you.
My newest home adornment is your jersey, is your signed jersey, in this beautiful frame hanging high up on the wall in my living room in a perfect focal point. And everyone that's been here since I hung it up a few weeks ago has commented on that. And I get to tell them our fun story. So thank you, my friend, for that.
That's amazing. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
But it's like the big point is that it's a signed Eagles jersey. And that's, as you know, I'm kind of a big fan.
Chris is
I love that. So I appreciate it. And thanks for the invitation today to hang with you, man.
Yeah, of course. So let's pick up your story with when you were studying psychology and waiting tables at a steak place. Take us back to that point. How many years ago was that? What did you anticipate doing with your vocation, as you like to call it? Not career, certainly not job. When you finished school?
Definitely not a job. I don't believe in jobs. Maybe we'll explain that a little bit later. Give that some context. But I never wanted a job. I definitely trusted. The best decision I ever made, Nick, and I think about this so frequently, is trusting that inherent within my passion were all the mechanics for success and however I wanted to find success. Okay. My definition of success, of course, is having your life on your terms. And I know I'm very clear with what my terms are. So I decided very early, I wanted to marry two of my passions. One was human potential and human spirit, and the other is sports. And so I did. So I decided to come out here and study, get my master's degree at ASU. While I was in the master's program, I needed spending money, and I also wanted to play free golf. So I got a job as a waiter at this phenomenal golf course up in North Scottsdale called Troon North. And it's a famous golf course. People travel from all over the world, and it's just a badass place. And they have a super fancy restaurant in there. I'd done a lot of table waiting before in my life. So I got a job there so I could play free golf and make some beer money. And, people were asked, there's a lot of regulars in there, and I got to see them, and we'd start talking, and they say, how's school, or there's like kind of newer people say, so what are you up to? I'm a student, I'm studying to become a sports psychologist. My true answer was true, but I got to tell you, I got tired of saying that. I'm studying to become. Yeah. And I said it one time, and I'm like, let's try something different the next time somebody asks me that. And so I made it present tense. The very first time I ever did that. So somebody asked, so what are you studying? Or I don't remember what they asked me. I don't know.
What else do you do? Or is this your full-time job? Or
whatever the question was, it didn't matter. I was answering my answer, right? They could have said, what's your middle name? And I would have said the same thing, which is, I'm a sports psychologist. I coach people's brains. I help people strengthen the way that they use their minds so they can be more badass at whatever it is they're doing. And they're like, really? Now I'm serving them their damn food. Yeah. I'm saying this as I'm putting their food in front of them. And I'm telling them I'm a mental coach. And they're like, really? Do you coach kids? And I said, I sure as hell do. First clients. And I wasn't even done. I wasn't even done the master's program. So the point there is the reason that story is fun and important to me and hopefully relevant to someone that's listening. That's a story of not waiting. And waiting, by the way, if you were to ask me, hey, what's the number one mistake in your experience that you witnessed people making over the course of your entire career in the pursuit of the lives of their dreams or in pursuit of excellence or pursuit of anything they want? The answer is waiting. Yeah. The biggest mistake is, the number one mistake is unnecessary waiting. So that's a small story of not waiting. Well, not really. That's not really a small story. I got my first clients ever had, so it's actually kind of a big story. of not waiting, of stepping confidently into your, of creating your truth and having it be true now. So what happened there was actually very transformative. So here's the takeaway, and we can move on, is that in that moment, so this actually is more I'm talking about. It's like, I'm never going to preface it by saying this is a little story. It's not, it's a big ass story. That was me. I changed in that moment. I became a sports psychologist with a plate of steak in my hand, right? I stopped being a waiter in the middle of being a waiter and I became a mental coach. So I stepped into, I wasn't lying, right? I wasn't making up bullshit. I wasn't trying to manipulate. I was stopping waiting. I stopped waiting for external circumstances to be different before I occupied the space that I wanted.
That's huge. It's absolutely freaking huge. And so many entrepreneurs, especially busy parents and parentpreneurs, we've had corporate jobs usually, or maybe we've been at home taking care of kids or taking care of family or other obligations, or maybe we're pivoting in our career from something that we didn't really like to something that we love doing. That whole don't wait for proof thing, I think is how you told me on, your couch back in the day, was quit waiting for proof. And every single step of my life since then, both in business and in my personal life, like that comes back so full circle because you're not a parent until you are. I wasn't an NFL player until I signed a contract. Not everything we've done in our lives was for the very first time. From learning to talk, from walking, every single damn thing we do is for the first time, but we wait. And so you're right. It's not a small story at all. What I want to ask you though, is you made that decision. You were studying psychology. You obviously knew kind of how this was going to work. Were you trying to talk yourself into confidently stepping in there? Like, how did you make that decision standing there? I'm assuming I can just picture this and like all white with a napkin over your arm saying, here's your filet, sir.
That's how it went down. That's exactly how it went down.
Good. You're such a good storyteller. It's like vivid as all hell, but like, did it take you a while? Did you?
Yeah, it did.
You're going to do that and then wait to have the confidence to do it?
Yes. It was a frustration point. I hit a tipping point, right? Because I said so many times, I'm studying to become, I'm like, God, that's so, blech. There's nothing, I don't feel inspired by, like, it's kind of exciting because that's what I'm up to and I'm following my dream and all that. But It's like, how about now? Like, I want to stop futuring my desires. I want to stop, we've talked about this a lot, me and you, buddy, is stop putting unnecessary time, right, in between. But this is a conversation that's not unique to you. This is a critical learning point for all of us, is that it's the waiting thing. So putting unnecessary time. So here's a great question to be asking ourselves what am I waiting on? And is there a faster track to my desires? Like, I just want to operate from the assumption, and I'm happy to be wrong, but I want to operate from the assumption that my desires are available in some form to me, like now.
Yeah.
Right. So what happened was I got frustrated saying this future thing, just putting off the thing I've been wanting, for years off into the future. And I said, well, hell, I'm so damn close to grad. Let's just have it be true now and step into that place of competence. And I literally had a conversation with them, with this table, this family, about my passion. And so the waiting tables became like that. I was their server, became completely uninteresting and irrelevant in that moment. And we got to talking about something that they're passionate about, which is having their child thrive.
Was that an identity thing, or was it a capability thing that kept you waiting? Was it you weren't sure you could deliver on the promise if you said that, or was it you didn't see yourself as a sports psychologist until that moment because you didn't have the piece of paper?
That's exactly right. That's what I was waiting for, right? I was waiting for the piece of paper. I was waiting for the world to acknowledge me as deserved, as studied enough. But my qualification, this will always be true for me. My qualification to serve people in my capacity has never been anything remotely close to my degrees. It's my passion. Right. And I do my homework. I just got back from LA for a long weekend at a very expensive event where I just I trained myself. I attended conferences and talks with mental coaches and doing all this. I'm always sharpening my saw. So that's not an issue. Right. And nor is it my qualification. My qualification is my passion. So I stopped waiting for externals like a degree, or to have to be able to say that I have a master's in psychology, or to even have a client, or to have had, and this is amazing. At that time when I was saying that to this family, a grand sum of 0 hours of applied work. So the point is, I'm not even waiting for that. Right? So it's like stepping into your excellence, stepping into your desire, choosing to be that person now. And that is not an act. It is not faking it until you make it. It's stop waiting to simply damn be it. And look how quickly I created, an amazing result. I got to serve these people. It was beautiful.
I've got all these notes. I've got all these things, and I knew this was going to happen with you because I'm just going to go down these rabbit holes, and we're going to get to where we're going to get. But so many people in the audience right now are going, "Holy cow!" Because all of us as entrepreneurs, very few people, maybe younger kids that actually studied entrepreneurship because that's offered now. It didn't happen. I'm 40 years old. Like, I was a broadcasting major and I was a sociology minor. I've always been at my core very entrepreneurial, and I learned through my experience that I was not cut out to be a corporate employee. And then when I had my kids and my family situation with 5 kids in 2 states, I basically drew a line in the sand and said, look, my priority is my family, and I'm going to do what I have to do. And being in the corporate world isn't going to work for me. So I had to become this thing that I already innately was. But there's so many people in the audience right now that might be very early on in their business. Maybe they haven't started. And that's the thing that's holding them back. And so I want to dig in on that. You didn't have external validation, but you said something earlier, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm going to ask you to restate it. But inherent within your passions is what?
So there's a few ways of saying that. Inherent within your desires are the mechanics for their own fulfillment. Inherent within your passions are all the mechanics for success. But the Chris Dorris dumbed down version of that, because I like to do that with everything complicated, is simplify the shit out of it and keep the profound nature of it, is the how is in the what. And can I tell you a story to explain what all that means?
Please do, yes.
It's a story you've heard a billion times. And it's the story of my nephew, Benny, and my car keys. So I'm home, I'm back in Jersey at my sister's house, watching my beloved Eagles play, watching Donovan McNabb throw dirt balls. No diss, Donovan, but you did throw a lot of balls at people's shoelaces. And I have one nephew at the time, and his name is Benny. He's an infant at the time, and my sister says, hey, Chris, Benny's coming in, because he was in the kitchen. I'm in the family room watching the game. I'd thrown my keys up on top of the ledge over the fireplace. The whole wall is a big old brick fireplace. And she says, hey, you guys, keep your eye. I got him. I see him. And he instantly starts crawling towards me. And I'm, in my infinite egoic nature, am thinking, oh, he just loves his uncle so much. He's coming over to see him. And he motors right past me. I'm like, okay, that's not what to do. But I got he's got my attention now, because he's getting really close to the bricks of the fireplace, and I just want to make sure we don't hit his mouth or something. So I'm totally paying attention to him. Right now, let the time out from the actual story. Right, I want to talk about, instead of the content, the process for a second. Is something that I discovered in retrospect. So what didn't happen in this story is the purpose and the magic of the story. Right. So I didn't know at the time that it was going on, but what had happened was, when he crawled into the room, he must have seen the keys. My keys they fell onto the ledge, the shelf underneath, like one of those recessed canned lights or something. So they must have been glistening. Now, I don't know any of this at the time, but he must have seen them, because that's where he was going, which I still didn't know. So he pat. Now, what didn't happen, right, was he didn't wait. Okay, so he saw the keys. Now, it's some shiny object in the sky that must have become an object of desire for him. And what he did was, and this is a mantra, this is a good takeaway, he moved towards. He took instantaneous action by moving in the direction of the desire. That's the metaphor. That's the learning. He didn't wait. He didn't stop, and he didn't pause. When he came out of the kitchen, saw this attractive, shiny object in the sky and go, wow, that looks pretty cool, but how in the hell would I ever get that? That's like so totally out of reach. I mean, maybe I should just go for something more accessible. He didn't stop. He didn't have the how obstacle. He didn't get stopped by the how would I possibly pull that off? So what he did is he moved towards. Now, you know what happened? He's got my attention. He gets underneath the keys. I have no idea what the hell he's doing. And he starts making noises and looking up. I'm like, what are you doing, brother? And then I see the keys go, I get off my ass. I get up out of the chair, grab the keys, put them down on the floor, and he starts playing with them. He got what he wanted. He manifested his desire with virtual effortless ease. I'm the one that did all the damn work. So when I say, I was the mechanics, right? So it's like inherent within your desires of mechanics for own fulfillment, but you got to move towards. So when he started moving towards, he activated the mechanics, which is Uncle Chris, He's got my attention. He starts making noise. He's taking action, right? And I discover what it is. And he activated the mechanics. Had he paused, like we've all learned to do, and just stop and go, I don't know how this is going to work, man. I don't know how would I possibly, where would I get the money for that? How would I get the ability to do this? I don't know how, I'm not qualified. All the how stuff, like how's it going to work? Then he wouldn't have activated the mechanics. So inherent within your desires are the mechanics for success. What you need to do is move towards, take immediate, bold, masterful action like now.
Amazing. I like the story so much. I borrowed it, and it's actually in my book, which you wrote the foreword for. So thank you. Shameless plug, but
it's not shameless. It's a relevant plug, and it's a worthy plug.
So you get your first client while you're serving steak at True North.
Yeah.
You start working with golfers. But there's another story that's very similar that was totally outside of what you thought you knew how to do, that came from talking to the parents of golfers and young kids in a sports context. Can you tell that story?
Oh yeah, this is a story like what magic can come when you prioritize service over profit. Yeah, so I'm doing these workshops. I'm doing clinics for junior golfers because because I serve the steak and they're like, oh, this is a whole new world of opportunity is working with junior golfers. I thought that's so cool. So I would do a lot of clinics and just introduce like 90-minute long clinics at Arizona State University at the clubhouse. They had a really cool meeting space in there. And they were like so great to me because I did my internship with the men's golf team, got to know them all. So they gave me this beautiful discount. It was so super convenient. And it was a cool spot. So we get like 40 or 30 or 60, whatever kids from the Junior Golf Association of Arizona, which is another organization that has been pivotal in like help. It was a great relationship that I created that was really instrumental in me building my practice. So these juniors were there. And I'm looking around room and I'm seeing some familiar faces. I'm like, some of you have been here before, huh? How many of you cats have been to a workshop prior to this? And a handful of kids raise their hand. I'm like, oh, right on. Okay. So good for you. What do you guys remember? Crickets. I'm like, no, seriously, come on. Like, what do you guys? I thought they were being bashful. They actually didn't remember Jack. And I thought that ain't right. Like, that's not the outcome we're going for here. Right. So I go back to the drawing board and I'm thinking, how do we up level this experience? So I did a couple things. One was I totally reduced the amount of content that I was covering, less is more approach. But the other thing that I did was I decided to invite parents to attend for free. So on my next announcement, I added that with a big star, said, hey, by the way, you bring a kid, parent can attend for free. So the first time that happened, a bunch of parents showed up. I thought that's pretty cool. And they're all sitting around in the back. The kids are up here in the horseshoe and we do our deal. And afterwards, when it's over, one of the parents came up to me, Dave Canham, and he said, this stuff is good, man. You got to come do this with my sales team at Insight. He was running the sales department at Insight at the time. And I was actually I was simultaneously flattered and also totally intimidated because I was like, my background's in social work, dude. I work on the streets with struggling people. I've never been in a corporation, like even in a building. And I've got these preconceived notions. It's like a different group of humans that are like professional in a different way. And I started to say something like that to him. He's like, no, dude, just do what you just, it's going to be, just do what you just did. And this is thing, I'm telling you, my people need this. Fast forward 20 years. And now I'm standing on stages, giving closing keynotes in Chicago, like speaking after Ditka, and traveling the world, giving mental toughness training workshops to sales teams and coaching their leaders in massive like contracts that all started with this guy, Dave Canham. It all started, he deflects that. If he was sitting here, he goes, shut up, CD, you created it. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. You're the one that invited it. I might not have ever thought of it. Or if I did, it would have been years and years later. So you're a total enzyme. Yeah, and he's the guy that invited me to stand on that stage. He's the guy that got me the invite to give a closing keynote in front of thousands of salespeople in this massive hotel, the biggest room I've ever been in my life, that led to everything.
Let's dig into that because you went from social worker to master's student to waiter to coaching young golf to doing this thing with Insight. Since then, you've started a podcast, you've written a couple of books, you've got an audio program. And this is one of the things that I've learned from you is you unapologetically sell six-figure paid in full coaching deals to companies like Apple and Salesforce over the phone. And it's become just a part of who you are. And I guess my question for you is over that journey, because I think a lot of people listening right now can relate to something like that and that kind of trajectory that we all have. What was the biggest mindset shift that you personally had to make to go from who you were to who you are?
So it's just what we were talking about with the story with Benny and the car keys. As I stopped waiting, we all, over time are conditioned to wait, right? We learn to paralyze ourselves with the how obstacle that I call, right? I need to see some evidence of how this is going to unfold before I can be all in. So that is the mind shift, is stopping hoping that my dream will unfold and shift into knowing. So is a mind shift, another way of putting it, is I stopped having my dream be a goal and I had it become a decision. And that's one of those powerful things that I think we can do as humans, is to decide in advance that I'm going to create something for my life without knowing how. That's what all in is to me. So I decided that I will have my life on my terms, and I'm no longer having it be a goal. I'm not having goals. I don't want goals. I'll have goals for a minute. Like I'll be sitting down. What is it that I'd like to create for myself? And it'll be a goal until I go, okay, I decide on this. That, brother, is, as you know, that is an entire different conversation, that deserves love, but it's a huge distinction. And I really encourage people to consider that. To like dumb it down or to super simplify it, the distinction is the difference between a goal and a decision is a goal leaves the door open for the possibility of failure, where a decision doesn't. When I'm in decision-making mode or all in this, in the all-in state, the possibility of failure is non-existent in my field of consciousness. It's just ain't on my radar. And as a consequence of that, I take immediate, bold, and masterful action, totally maximize the probability of me being who I want, having what I want, and doing what I want.
I think a lot of people are looking to add something, right? Like we're always trying to add, like once I know this, or once I figure this out, or once I find this, I'll be able to do the thing. But in terms of a decision, you have a great analogy in your audio program about driving to the store. Like when you decide to go to the grocery store, you don't wonder, like, am I going to get hit by a bus along the way and not make it? Or am I just going to go in and get the bread I need for lunch tomorrow morning and walk out? How do we remember, or are there triggers and little things that you can reframe when you catch yourself going, I've decided I'm going to do this, and now it's all the how, all the unknowns start to come up, and those are the things that actually paralyze us and hold us back.
Yeah, it's like, look, when we go see a movie, I love the fact that I don't know how it's going to unfold. That's what gives it its entertainment value, is the unknown, right? Like, I don't want to know how it's unfolding in advance. It's like, no, you saw it already, don't tell me, because it ruins it, right? Well, I want my life to be just like that, right? Because I know two things that are critical. One, that I have the ability to decide versus try. It's happening, like to get all in. I have that ability. It's a choice. It's just a choice. And it's an option to hope. There's also options I could doubt. I could be hopeless. We're going down the ladder of what I call the hierarchy of knowing, but at the top is knowing, and all of those are available to us. So I may as well choose knowing, because that's when I'm at my most badass. And that the mechanics for the fulfillment of my desires are already packed, like software in a computer, prepackaged, already in there. So all I got to do is move towards. And I got to keep on doing that. Now, here's another takeaway, though, is like when I get all in, I say, I'm going to create an amazing practice and it's going to thrive, and I'm going to give keynotes, or I'm going to write books, or whatever it is. I'm going to have my life on my terms, okay? Yeah. I encourage people to memorize this phrase, because this is really mission critical right here. Well, actually, I'm going to put you on the spot, Holmes. All right, just see if you can. I didn't prep you for this. So
no, you sure didn't. What are you going to
try to finish this sentence? The nature of commitment is
that it goes away.
That a baby. Look at you. I see you doing work over there. That's a man who's done his work. Good for you. That was not pre-planned, everybody.
That was just real quick. That was one of the most impactful things. And another book reference, my decide, declare, do what it takes comes back full circle to recommit.
To decide. So the nature of, so let's have this be sticky, because this is a big ass deal. The nature of commitment is that it goes away. Okay. Yeah. So I get all in on something, and guess what? The shelf life of that commitment is super brief, gone moments later. This is why like a lot of marriages fail, because they go, hey, I said my vows on the altar 15 years ago. Why is our communication sucking? Yeah. Recommit as if for the first time. Right. Yeah. So like when I was starting my practice, I would go through, even though I created my first paying client standing at a dinner table, that doesn't mean that I was locked permanently into infinite confidence all the way through there. That was just a cool story, and it gave that I remembered, and I also forgot. And when I remembered, I'm like, oh, that's medicine for me. That's fuel. That's fuel right there. That's right, because I can create. But then I forget, right? And we forget that being all in is a decision because we're bombarded with doubting questions, even from people that love us from all over, our worlds, from media, right? Supporting doubt, right? So the nature of commitment is that it goes away. So what that means is the relevance to that is I have to recommit daily, multiple times on my decisions on what I'm creating for myself. And every time have that decision making be formal in my mind, like a formal ritual with the same degree of intensity that I committed or decided in the very first time.
So let's walk through the all-in framework, and deciding is the very first thing you need to do. We touched on how you need to continue to come back to that decision to like perpetuate that loop and actually achieve what you've decided and committed yourself to achieve by actually taking forward progress. After you've decided, what's the next part of that step?
Second step is to mobilize your army, because you never want to do anything. I mean, there's just more fun to have people in support of you, right? Like having a coach,
for sure,
right? Or a spouse, just including friends, having accountability measures. So mobilize your army, your support network, right? Tell everybody in your world what you're up to. Actually solicit help from people. Say, hey, this is what I'm up to. I need you to check with me every once in a while. Just call me. Say, how you doing on that? Are you making progress? Are you still acting? Are you still all in? All right. I want to have total, I'm going to create support, further maximize the probability of success. Third step is immediate action. This is about not waiting. I'm going to do something bold, something I've never done. Like maybe call up somebody that's a little bit scary, like the CEO, to ask them for something that I would never think to do. Like do something a little bit nuts. It's probably not nuts at all.
Right.
Take immediate, bold action. Stop waiting. Just go do something, anything that you've never done before towards making your vision your reality. Fourth step, which is huge, is dedication. Dedicate the process to someone or someone's other than you. Because when you do that, and now there's a whole new level of accountability. When you say, I'm doing this, so like I recently, I had a deal where I did a rapid weight loss thing, losing 50 for my 50th birthday, 50 pounds, and the last 30 happened in a month. And I dedicated it to 2 people. And so that was a hardcore thing. It was a hardcore, like that was a crazy month. And I had people donating money. So it was like, it was a big deal for me. But it wasn't just about me, because I dedicated it to 2 groups. One was the people who I was about to present to in New York. I also dedicated it to the search angels there. I was adopted. And so I was separated at birth from my birth mother. And I searched for 20 years and found her. But I had the help of these amazing women who voluntarily assisted me. They virtually found her. They never asked for a penny. They were searching for me, and I didn't even know them.
Wow.
Talk about service. I mean, that is amazing. So I was raising money for them. I dedicated it to them. They didn't know it. So every day when I'm doing my workouts, drinking all my meals, doing cold plunges and all this crazy shit that I was doing to do healthy, rapid weight loss.
It was a lot of fun to watch on social media, though. God, he's not going to kill himself, is he?
The army that I mobilized was a nutritionist and a trainer. So I had support, I had knowledge, I had great guidance. I couldn't have done it without him. Right. So that was that's the army I mobilized, among other people asking for accountability. But when I dedicated it to these people, I can't even cheat on one burpee because I'm letting them down, and that won't happen. So when I dedicated it to these people, it was like, there's no chance now, because I've included of me letting them down. There's no chance of this not happening. It is done. So the dedication thing is profound. Do we have time for a little dedication story too?
Please. Stories are great. Your stories are amazing, especially the ones I haven't heard.
I don't know if you heard this one.
And nobody else has heard any of these for the most part.
Do you know who David Jack is?
I know that name. Why do I know that name?
He's a trainer. He's a big badass trainer here. He
lives in Chandler. Did he work with Arch?
I don't know. No. That's not the same one.
That guy. All right.
No. But he has been on the Katie Couric show several times as like the trainer, and he's in Men's Health magazine. So he's a badass trainer. Yeah. And he's like Adonis, just, of course. He and I and a couple other people are co-facilitating an event. Jeff Ritter and Kate Ritter, actually, the 4 of us. We are the 4 facilitators for an event, an executive golf event for Apple. out in Pebble Beach. All of that, by the way, just sounds amazing. It is.
Look what you've manifested for yourself.
It's so good. It's so spectacular. The whole thing, every bit of it was just beautiful. So, except this part. So we're there a day early. I never met David Jack till this day. So he's the physical trainer. I'm the mental coach. Jeff is the golf coach, and Kate's the nutritionist. So that's the squad that's going to deliver this 3-day event. We go for a hike, and it's a badass hike, and I'm way out of shape, and they're all ripped, and I'm struggling. I didn't know that it was going to be so. I thought we were just going for a nice stroll to go look over Monterey Bay, but it was hardcore. It's like a camelback situation, and I am hurting bad. Like I think I emptied one of these whole thing inhaler on the deal. I couldn't even see. The only thing I was trying to do is not puke. And I'm not exaggerating even slightly. We finally get back to Jeff and Kate's condo. They were waiting for me on this whole hike, We get back to his condo. However, his condo is up a ridiculously steep hill. Big old driveway, long, steep. My legs are so spaghetti. And I said, Jeff, go get your car. And he goes, CD, I'm like, get your car. And he's like, God damn it. Meanwhile, the DJ, David Jack, he comes over. He doesn't know me from Adam. And he didn't need to. This is the kind of guy he is. He changed my world in this moment. He completely changed the way I do my work and the way I show up for people. So he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, CD, I got you. We're going to do this together, all right? And I'm going to handicap myself. I'm going to meet you in your world. And I'm thinking, who the fuck, what is he? What are you? I know you're in great shape. You don't got to show off now. I think he's doing that, but I don't know him at all. He's not doing that. He's truly being of service to me because that's the way this guy shows up always in life. He is amazing. Look him up. David Jack is his name. So he says, I'm dedicating this to you. I'm going to meet you. That's what he said. I'm dedicating this to you. And I'm going to meet you. I know exactly how you feel, brother. I'm going to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bear crawl this backwards with you. You just walk normal. You walk up and I'm like, all right. So we get started and he is instant. This is a real bear crawls, by the way, if you don't know.
If you've never bear crawled, it sounds like, oh, whatever. It's one of the hardest things you can do.
It's hard to do.
Seem like walking.
Exactly. And it's hard to do forwards on a flat surface.
Right.
That nonetheless backwards on a steep ass incline. So this is like mind blowing what he's offering to do here. And this is after he actually at the end of the hike, which was strenuous, he did a sprint up what's called the Stairway to Heaven over there. It's just this long, long, long stairway, and he came down. So he was toast.
Yeah.
And he offers this. So instantly he is stripping sweat and gasping for air. And I found myself screaming for him, cheerleading him on. I'm like, come on, DJ, you got this. Come on, buddy. And I totally forgot about my own shittiness. I completely forgot about my own pain, my suffering, and my weak ass thinking. His dedication, his entering my world and making that commitment to do something for me had me in turn discover a reservoir of strength that I was convinced I didn't have. Next thing you know, we're at the top of the hill hugging it out. And I'm like, what in the hell just happened? And I'm like, this is amazing. This is a game changer. So I've added into the all-in thing, right? Dedicate. When you dedicate to somebody, the whole deal changes in a beautiful, powerful way. So do you.
100%.
The next step in the all-in process is, so this is the 5th of 6, metrics, measurement, data. I always want to know where we stand. I want to be able to measure, come up with metrics to see, unambiguously see, am I making forward progress? So you can always create metrics. If you need to employ the help of somebody, because maybe that's not your deal, is just come up with ways of measuring, can I prove that I am making forward progress? As a source of perpetual motivation is knowing your forward progress. And then the last step, which is what got us into this part of the conversation in the first place, which is recommit. And that brings us full circle back to the top, which is decide again, because the nature of commitment is
that it goes away.
There you go, which is not a problem as long as I can recommit until the thing has become my reality.
Awesome. I mean, awesome. We could just cut it right there and just mic drop and just walk away, but we're not going to do that. I took notes, right? Because all right, decide. It used to be called declare, which is bring in your army and tell people and have accountability.
Yeah.
Take immediate action. dedicate the process to someone other than you, which I think is very important.
Metrics and recommit. So I'll just say them again. So decide, mobilize your army, support network, take immediate bold action, dedicate, right? Create metrics, and then recommit.
Give me an example of a crappy metric. Metrics pretty much have to be black and white, right? But if let's talk to somebody out in the audience, they're about to build their first online course and put it out there. They're having all the doubt, they have all the feels, but they need to measure their success. They've decided, they're committed, they bought into the all-in framework. What's an example of a crappy metric, and what would a good metric to measure that kind of process be?
Well, let's make it more specific. Can you think, let's just get an example then.
They've decided to create and launch their very first digital online course in 60 days.
Okay, so that's super specific. All right, so what would a crappy metric be? It would be how you feel. I feel confident about this. I feel like, even, I know I'm gonna like rip on myself here. I'm all in. All right. Yeah. All right. Really? No, no, seriously, I'm totally committed. I mean, I'm not hoping, I'm deciding. It's just saying a goal. This is a decision. Okay. I'm like, yeah, right. Okay. Where's the evidence? Well, okay, beautiful. Good for you. What do you got? So really what I'm saying here through an example is any subjective observation. We need to be objective, right? Like, where's the content? Deadlines, right? Everybody's heard it a million times. Like, when you put a time stamp on something, then the probability of it becoming real has increased like 70% or something like that.
Yeah.
Super specificity. So anything ambiguous is the answer to what would be crappy. And the opposite, what would be solid, is super specific. Anything that's super specific. So if I'm creating an online course, my outline will be done by next week. Okay. I will finish the first module by the following week. Simple as that.
Incredible. The metric stuff's new. I'm sitting here like writing this down as you go, because I knew I think it was a 4-part framework before. I've listened to the audio program. We joke all the time that I could recite your all-in audio program to you, to handle and deal and persevere and have goals and get knocked on your ass and get back up and keep going. The millions of times that's happened to us. It's happened to me. It's happened to you. And if you're listening right now, I'm sure it's happened to you too. So,
or is happening for, right? I also love the mantra, nothing happens to me, it all happens for me. That I can expand on that with another mantra, which is every set of circumstances can be created from, but only if viewed masterfully. So I love all results. When I get what I want, I celebrate. When I don't get what I want, I grow. And I see both of those as equally valuable to me. So there's no such thing as failure. There are only results, and everything that occurs I can create from, as long as I don't have a problem with it.
It's awesome. Before I let you go, what's your number one? You can go so many places with this, but what's your number one parting piece of advice for entrepreneurial parents who are trying to get everything done in short bursts, and they may be feeling more often than not overwhelmed about how they're going to get some of these things done, just from a mindset standpoint, grounding them in one thing? What would that be?
I would create a list of comments, a list of powerful present tense statements of what it is that you're creating. Here's a version of that. This is not perfectly relevant to what you're asking, but I did weeks of work on this. But these are like these are my I ams, my present tense I ams. Right? And I use these daily. I also have them recorded in my phone as voice notes. And I recorded it like an intense mofo, and I listened to me being that. So in other words, what I'm asking you to do is to create a list of sentences that are present tense truths about what it is that you're creating that isn't even true yet. Right? So come up with a list of sentences like, I have a thriving practice. Wealth effortlessly surrounds me. Whatever the things that would be so amazing to be true, put them in present tense truth statements. All right. That's step one. And then speak them to yourself all day. This is NLP stuff. Literally, you're conducting brain surgery on yourself. You're rewiring your neural network into having your desire become true now, which changes the way you show up, which maximizes the probability of it actually becoming true sooner.
Also, you did it too. Just a minute ago, you actually said delete. Like you literally used that delete statement out loud to yourself to replace a word.
I'm glad you noticed that, because that's so automatic for me now. That's actually a great tool. Our language is a dead giveaway for our thinking, and our thinking governs how our lives unfold. So you'll hear me. I'm glad you're pointing that out. I didn't even remember that I did that. That's how automatic it is now. when I say something, the words get out right out of my mouth. Yeah, you know what? That's not powerful. It's not even agree with that. Do it over. I am correcting my thinking.
Awesome stuff. I could talk to you all day, my friend. But for the person out there that's connected with you and wants to learn more or follow your work, where can we go to connect with you more closely online?
Yeah, it's my website, which is ChristopherDorris.com, spelled Christopher and then DORRIS.com. It's all on there. I really want to encourage people to get onto my daily dose list because it's just a beautiful, I never solicit anything on that. So what it is called the Daily Dose, Mental Toughness Tips in 30 seconds or less. So every morning, if you sign up when you're at home in your home time zone, then at 6 a.m. where you live, every day, 365 days a year, you're going to get, right around 6 a.m., you're going to get a brief nugget of mental toughness gold that'll help you get your head right. And I never solicit anything on there. I won't even announce a new product or anything. It's simply this wonderful little nugget, which actually is turned into a book. It's in the first, so the first 365 of them are now in this book, and you could just like open it up and read one. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. The difference is that I suffer when I judge the emotional pain. If I can simply experience the sadness, for example, without saying to myself, this sucks, then it ain't bad. In fact, it's kind of sweet. So like that would be just, there's your daily dose, and just go off in your day and have that be your thing.
And there, everybody, is your Dorrisism, Chris. Super honored to have you. You've been, like I've said a couple hundred times to you now, like one of the most impactful people in my life for a very long time. And so I appreciate you sharing all your genius with us.
Wait. Before you go, did you know that the most successful online businesses are built working in 90-day blocks, prioritizing only the big projects that truly drive revenue and fuel growth? If you want to make next quarter your best one yet, head over to nickmurphy.io/guide to grab your free copy of the 90-Day Parentpreneur Planner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you back here on the next episode of the Parentpreneur Podcast.